Hello everybody, and welcome again to my channel. It's been a while since we've had Jack hosting, so I figured we'd do that again. This time I wanted to talk about the emotional effects of being in the Watchtower and of leaving the Watchtower. I think I might have talked about this to some extent before, but I want to talk about it again because it's important. So, if like me you were a veritable born-in, I wasn't quite born-in, but I was raised from pretty much infancy in the Watchtower. Um, you have been trained to live in a way that is not normal and it is not healthy for normal people. And when you wake up and walk away, there's considerable things that you have to work through to get back to normalcy. Because we have lived in a fantasy world. We have been taught to behave in ways that are destructive to normal relationships. And we have been taught to behave in ways that are unhealthy for ourselves. For those of us who have joined later on in life, whether it be in later childhood, teenage years, adulthood, depending on when you joined, you may have had an authentic self before you joined, or you might not have. So for those of us who have had the authentic self before we joined, which most likely means you were closer to adulthood, um, it's going to be different, and I cannot speak from experience for that. But the process involves just finding that authentic self again. But for those of us who were born in or raised from early childhood, the process literally involves finding out who you actually are. So when you wake up and realize that the Watchtower has done nothing but lie to you, and they've given you a false hope, and they've taught you to behave in ways that are not good for you, they've taught you to do things that you don't like, they've taught you to judge people, they've taught you to be somebody that you are not. When you wake up from that, you have to process all of that, and you have to figure out who you are. That's a journey that only you can take. Nobody can take that journey for you. You have to sit back and you have to think about things, and you have to figure out who you are. And it's a trip, but it's one that requires lots of reflection, more for some than others. I don't know, I'm just myself. But it's something that has to be done. If you've been born in, you have lived your whole life for a lie. You have been taught to behave ways that are bad for your relationships with normal people, and you have to find a way to address that. And you have to find out how to become a normal person for the first time in your life. And depending on your circumstances, if your whole family are witnesses and all your friends are witnesses, it'll probably be slightly more difficult. It'll probably be a lot more difficult because your exposure to normal people is probably a lot less. If, however, you have family members, extended family members who are not witnesses, it's probably going to be easier because you have someone to talk to and to work these things out with. Those people probably will not understand what it was like to be in a cult, but nonetheless, they will be normal people that you can talk to, and you can utilize them to help you to understand how to react and interact like a normal person. So one of the things about the Watchtower that is so evil is that they basically program people to make it so that it'll be difficult for them to interact in the normal world, as I've been talking about. And it takes time and effort to undo this programming. Many of us, when we leave the Watchtower, don't even realize that this is the case. And as a result, we might find that our relationships with normal people are strained, and we might not understand why. And the problem is, in reality, if we are carrying baggage from the Watchtower, we are behaving in ways that are abusive to normal people because we have been trained to be abusive. So, step one is realization. Beyond that, there's a journey to go through. I am not a professional, but I recommend reading up on literature involving high control groups and or cults. Therapy is also a very good option. I strongly recommend that as well. But there's a lot that we have to work through to get to the point where we can interact with normal people in a way that is not destructive to them, and where we can finally ourselves get over carrying the burden of what's been done to us for all these years. So, in addition just to our interactions with people, there is the emotional trauma that has been inflicted upon us by the Watchtower. The Watchtower is an emotionally abusive organization. They cause you to ignore the things that you really want to do and instead focus on the things that Watchtower wants you to do. The Watchtower acts as if activities that will benefit the Watchtower is the best thing that you can possibly do. That's the way to serve God. But if you think about it in reality, if you've actually read the Bible, if God created us to be happy, joyful people, then the Watchtower's course of action makes no sense because their activities do not result in joy. The Watchtower makes you think that they do, and the way they do that is by they tell you that you are joyful if you're doing those things. So you're basically forcing yourself to believe that you're joyful if you're engaging in Watchtower activities. So what you're really doing when you're thoroughly indoctrinated in the Watchtower is you are shutting off your own emotions. And a crucial step to becoming, once again, a normal person is to get back in touch with those emotions, to allow yourself to experience them, to feel them, to do so non-judgmentally. So that can be difficult, especially when you first allow yourself to start doing that. It's basically like facing a huge tidal wave, just this massive thing that you are almost powerless to resist. It's going to sweep over you, it's going to throw you around, it's going to cause you to go to places that you didn't think you were going to go to. But you have to ride that out. You've got to allow yourself to go through that, and you have to allow yourself to start processing emotions. Because for however long you are under the influence of Watchtower, you are basically shutting off your emotions. That is not a healthy thing to do. It's basically, so to put that on par with something physical, it's like repeatedly injuring yourself, whether that's cutting yourself or overextending a muscle. But if you have an injury that you've been doing again and again and again for a long time, it's going to take a long time for that to heal. And there's probably always going to be a scar there to some extent. So those of us who have been in the Watchtower for a long time, we will probably have some level of emotional scarring that we carry through our life. But that being the case, that does not mean that we cannot work towards being healthy and work towards interacting with normal people and interacting normally and being happy and satisfied with ourselves. And that really is something that's important for us to do. The damage that the Watchtower has done to us is not measurable. You cannot put a figure on what the Watchtower has done to you. They have taken time that you can't get back. No matter how long you were there, that time is gone and it's not coming back. And that can be tough to swallow sometimes. But that being the case is you still have your life. You're still alive. You can still enjoy the rest of your life. So it's very upsetting. It's extremely upsetting. And you, rightfully so, you should be upset by what the Watchtower has taken from you. However, you want to work towards a place of happiness where you can enjoy the life that you have now. And this can be a tough thing to do, but it's something that's crucial because we don't want to allow the Watchtower to run our lives. They've already taken enough from us. We don't have to let them take the rest from us. So this has been kind of like a big rambling, meandering rant. I can't stress enough the damage that Watchtower does to people. On an emotional level, it's nothing short of abusive. It messes up the way you think, and when you wake up and step back and walk away, it takes time to process that, and it takes time to come to terms with what's been done to you. And it takes time to work yourself back into the place where you can, once again, be normal, be with normal people, and all those things depend on how long you were in, how indoctrinated you are, or were, how many of your friends and family are in. So I'm putting this out there as something to consider, because myself, I've gone through this. I know many others who have gone through this from the waking up process, processing the emotional damage that's been done, and acknowledging it, and realizing though that there's still life beyond the hurt, beyond the pain, and despite the fact that something was taken from us that we cannot get back, we can still live happy, productive lives. And in fact, one thing I continue to say and will always say is the best revenge you can get on the Watchtower is to be a happy person. The Watchtower wants you to be miserable when you leave. We have the right to our anger. We have the right to all those things, but we don't want to let those drive our life. We want to be happy. So I guess my message here is just to acknowledge what's been done to you, understand what's been done to you, process what's been done to you. But your goal should be working towards being happy, because we all have the rest of our lives to live, and the Watchtower is never going to pay us back for what it's taken. So let's work towards being happy, because we can, you can. We're alive. We can enjoy that, and we should. We can enjoy life now in a way that we never have before in the Watchtower. You don't have to get up Saturday mornings to knock on doors. You don't have to underline watchtowers. You don't have to get up on stage and give talks for, whatever stupid things. You don't have to do all those things. You don't have to go to circuit assemblies. You don't have to go to regional conventions. You don't have to worry about the judgment of the elders, of the circuit overseer, of the ministerial servants, of all the other people in the congregation. All those things are in the past. All that pain is in the past. So, I guess I'm trying to say this to help us to move on from what's been done, because there's a lot of pain that's been inflicted on us by a Watchtower. Anyway, so that's kind of rambling and whatever, but thanks for watching.